Good afternoon and happy Monday. Welcome to the Her Hoop Stats podcast. It is Monday, September 15th. I am Brittany Carper, joined today by Cindy Brunson. First time together on the pod, Cindy, and we made it to the playoffs. So
Heck yeah. Win for us. So great to be working with you, Brittany.
yeah, so excited. We have a ton to cover, obviously, with all four games yesterday. So let's just start at the top here with the Lynx, the number one seed, best team throughout the regular season, kind of far and away, taking on the Valkyries, who we have talked about several times on this podcast across every personality. Just what a surprise, and what they've done this year as a first-year expansion franchise. And then they kind of got their welcome to the playoffs moment here at Minnesota after a great first quarter. I think the Lynx kind of settled in and really dominated the game from that point on. But what are your general takeaways from that first playoff game yesterday?
Well, my last arena that I hit on my summer-long WNBA arena tour was Minnesota. And I saw Minnesota play tooth and nail with some attitude against Golden State in that regular season finale. One, because they were sending a message. Two, because they did not want to face Seattle in that first round, a team that had gotten them a couple times during the
Mm-hmm.
regular season. So I think everybody in Minneapolis understood the assignment. The fan base gets it. They are all about the drive for five, and they were behind the Lynx, full throat, full throttle the entire game. And what I love most about that Minnesota win is we finally got to see Dejanay Carrington, Janae hit the floor and did her thing in just a few minutes' time, had two big threes there at the end of the first half. And then, in addition to that, we also saw Natisha Heidemann flex. And we've seen this down the stretch of the regular season for Minnesota. And she is the, in case of emergency, break glass offense that they just go to in a hurry. And I absolutely love that option for the Lynx. It's just another facet that makes that team prove over and over again it's the number one seed for a reason.
Yeah, I thought the game totally changed upside down when she entered the game. Her and Jessica Shepard completely just kind of put the Lynx, settled in. I think it's an easier position coming from the bench in a playoff
Yep.
atmosphere like that. You have a chance to kind of settle your nerves, see what's out there on the floor. But the minute she came in the game, I thought the tides completely changed in favor of the Lynx. Just the way she gets the ball up the floor, the way she can get to the rim, she can make the threes. And then Jessica Shepard, I thought, had a couple of big offensive rebounds, was really good around the rim for them. And then notably, I just thought the Lynx really settled in on the defensive end. The
Mhm.
Valkyries, I think, hit 4 or 5 threes in that first quarter. And then after that, they didn't get a whole lot from the line. And when the majority of your offense is predicated from the 3-point line, that's going to be a struggle. But the depth of Minnesota is going to be a factor, I think, even in game two for this Valkyries squad. What do
Mhm.
you think the adjustments the Valkyries can make going into game two? And do you think not playing on their quote unquote home court will be a bit of kind of stumble block for them?
It's a bummer for sure, no doubt for the Valkyries, but I was at the regular season home opener for Valkyries Nation, and Valhalla is legit, and trust me when I tell you that will travel to San Jose. The Violet vibe is immense, and I would not be surprised, even without Tiffany Hayes, even without Kayla Thornton, two big, gigantic pieces missing from this Valkyries unit. It wouldn't surprise me if those home fans in San Jose slash the Bay Area really made things interesting for Minnesota. I'm telling you, that is just not a box that Minnesota is going to easily check because that fan base gets it. They are
Mhm.
so into that team. When I was walking around before the game around Chase Center, all of the local eateries were full. And I'm telling you, if I had $1 for every time I saw one individual wearing violet, I could retire. Like 18,000 strong. They don't sell their tickets to anybody. Everybody shows up. I feel bad for Minnesota. Any fans that are thinking of making that trip across country, ticket is going to be hard to come by because I tell you, Golden State just doesn't let them go. It's been so fantastic to see. It's why they led the regular season in home attendance, broke a record, first expansion team to do so. I mean, come on. So I love the vibe. I think it's what the Valkyries will need to sleep in their own bed, feel a sense of themselves again after getting shown the door there in Minnesota. And I expect a competitive game, even though I think the Lynx just have a little too much at the end.
Yeah, I will say it will be interesting. It looked like Collier tweaked her ankle a little bit in that
Mhm.
game, and luckily Minnesota had the luxury of not playing her, and really a lot
Yeah.
of their starters, got some rest, which I think again, we've talked at length this year just about the extra games this season and the injuries. So, certainly, I think the Lynx will be looking to hopefully close the door there, at Valhalla. But like you said, just what a privilege for the women's basketball viewers to get to see a playoff game at Valhalla. Certainly rewarded. The numbers came out, and again, just breaking numbers for the viewers in attend, watching the games, and I think the people that attended games this year. So again, women's
Mhm.
basketball is going to be treated to a special game there at Valhalla with their fans and what they've really done for the league. So we'll be looking forward to that game. The
Mhm.
second game that we had on the docket was the Fever and the Dream.
Yep.
Um, Somewhat of a ugly game, I guess you could say. I don't know. Those two back-to-back games, Fever Dream and Liberty and Mercury, were not exactly eye-pleasing, but
Mm.
what do you think? Obviously some outstanding performances from Gray and Howard
Mm.
for the Dream, and then Kelsey Mitchell for the Fever, who has just completely put this team on her back this season. So what are your main takeaways from that game, and what do you think kind of game 2 looks like?
I think the Atlanta Dream will close out the series in Indiana. I love how Brittany Griner was walking around post game with bricks that she had autographed in homage to her little signature phrase all season long, brick by brick. That's what Atlanta has done. They have built to get to this point and to chase a championship. Carl Semeska was adamant at the beginning of the season. We're not here to just get to the postseason. We are here to win it all. And that is the start of championship habits that were at the beginning of the season and have carried all the way through to the record wins that the team amassed in the regular season. And now here in the playoffs, Atlanta can get you in so many ways. They can kill you at the top in the front court with Gray and Howard, and then they can pound you to death in the paint with Naz Hillman and Brittany Griner and Bree Jones. It's a cavalcade of stars, so much star power and so much depth and strength. And the way Naz Hillman is hitting the three now, goodness gracious. I just really like this team's ability to go ahead and close things out and get the rest they will need because something tells me the aces will be waiting.
Yeah, yeah. I think really, Gray and Howard had the numbers, but Hillman and Jones, just their
Mhm.
battle inside. And a lot of credit goes to Bree Jones and how she defended Aaliyah Boston. I
Oh,
thought really, I think Boston made her first two field goals, and then it was just hard for her the rest of the
mhm.
game. And that's taxing on the other end for Aaliyah Boston as well, having to guard
Yep.
inside. But the Fever obviously just did not shoot the three ball well. I think for them to have any chance in game 2, they have to see some of those go down collectively. But with what they've lost this season, I mean, just to even be in the games, I think
Oh,
is a
yeah.
credit, a
Listen,
testament to
credit
what
to
they've done,
yeah.
and
Credit to
what
Kelsey
Stephanie.
Mitchell for sure, because
Yep.
she set the single season scoring record for the Fever. When you take Tamika Catching's name and move it down a peg, you're
Yeah.
doing something right, right? Like, that was
Absolutely. Yep.
impressive. And then, the entire MASH unit, they have a WNBA starting 5 on the bench injured. Like, that's
Hmm.
insane. And the
Yep.
fact that Stephanie White and her group have been able to coach through all of this adversity, tip of the cap. But when it comes to the playoffs, you need to be at full strength. And unfortunately, Indiana just is not.
Yeah, and that was my big takeaway. I just don't think they'll have enough firepower, to get the dream. But they've been good at home, better. So I
Mhm.
think certainly we'll look forward to that matchup. And then switching gears to Liberty and Mercury, we got
Okay. Went
yeah,
with the Liberty for those of you watching on, the socials. Yeah, wore the Liberty shirt because New York was the only team that was able to pull off the quote unquote upset. I say that quote unquote because New York went into the game as a 2-point favorite, according to our friends in Las Vegas. But
mhm.
still, they had to take care of business and seal the deal. And Phoenix, to its absolute credit, despite not shooting the three ball well, something they have made a statement of this season and done so beautifully, averaging about 10 makes a game, only 6 for 26 from distance. And it was a live by the three, die by the three kind of deal for Phoenix, unfortunately. And New York used what it did to win him the championship last year, and that is length upon length upon length. All of that 3-point shooting that Phoenix wanted to go to around the perimeter was contested for the most part. And then Satu Sabali, the unicorn, just had an uncharacteristically terrible day at the office. I mean, she finished 1 for 10 from distance, 2 for 17 from the floor. You expect her to shoot the basketball a little bit better in New York, but Ellie will be at Barclays, ready to rally the fans and the crowd and everything. And that, even if Brianna Stewart is unable to play, Emma Mieseman just slides into her spot. And I really like New York's chances to close out because if I'm New York, I don't want to mess around and have to fly back to Phoenix to seal the deal when you know it's Minnesota likely waiting in the next round.
Yeah, that game, was just really a knockdown, drag out, fight 'em, punch 'em kinda
Yeah.
thing. Few free throws, I thought extremely, extremely physical, and, as a basketball purist, in me anyway, sometimes I wish there was a little bit more whistle because I think it junks up the game a little bit,
Yep.
right? Like, it's so physical on the perimeter, it's hard to get any flow. You're getting shots, but not great shots, but I thought the X factor in that game, and I know you'll think this too, was Natasha
Mhm.
Cloud.
Oh,
Just,
1000%. You could
she
tell
was
Tosh hit the valley saying, "I was supposed to be on Phoenix. Remember, we
mhm,
had a relationship. I did my little tour of the practice facility and posted it on all the socials, and then lo and behold, I find out via the internet that you traded me to Connecticut without having a conversation." Like,
mhm.
the chip on her shoulder was as big as PHX Arena, and, there was no way that Tosh was gonna let the Liberty leave that building with a loss. It just was not going to happen. And she was fantastic. She hit half of her 3-point attempts. She was dropping dimes. She finished with 5. She had 6 rebounds as well. And whenever Phoenix made a push, it was a great defensive play by Tosh that got the ball back in the hands of the Liberty and got their offense flowing. The one person that will have to show up and show out for New York to close it out is Jonquel Jones. She did not get what they usually see from her in winning situations this season, a double double. Phoenix,
Mhm.
to its absolute credit, defended her well. Natasha Mack was absolutely awesome. But I tell you what, if JJ can sniff a lot of touches early at Barclays, it could be a long day for the Mercury.
Yeah, Tyler and I touched on that week last week, and it
Mhm.
just really for her, she is kind of the difference maker when they play more inside out. And she can get touches. She's a great passer. The ball seems to move just a little
Mhm.
bit more freely when she gets a touch, and she still rebounded the ball. That was one thing. New York really, really dominated the board. She had,
Yep.
I think, 12 rebounds, and then I think all the other
Mhm.
starters had 6.
Yeah.
But I thought too, New York, when healthy, Sabrina, Stewie, and Jonquil Jones, I think they're 12 or 13-0 when
Yeah.
those three are playing together. And you saw the kind of playoff pedigree, the toughness, the mindset that they have to have. And I wanted to also get your thoughts on. I thought Akoa Makani did a really good job of hounding Sabrina. It made
Yes.
life really, really difficult for her. And
Mhm.
in to start overtime, Coach Tibbetts made the decision to put Sammy Whitcomb out there, and I think some of that was obviously they were struggling offensively, so maybe she was a
Mhm.
spark. And now I don't think there wasn't anything necessarily that Sabrina did, but she was more aggressive to
Oh,
start.
yeah.
Now,
She's like, "I can put Sammy on my hip." She couldn't
yeah,
get around Akoa Makani. Akoa
mm,
Makani etched her name on the all-rookie team and etched her name on probably 2nd team all defense in that game.
mhm.
Like, that was so impressive, and I get it. She's an older rookie. She's got a bunch of Euro experience. She's not, a wide-eyed 22-year-old, but goodness, I know Sabrina was happy when she looked over the floor and saw Akoa Makani on the bench to start
Mhm.
overtime.
Yeah, and so that to me, I thought was just a little bit interesting just because she had given her such fits. And I thought you could maybe just see the confidence as a whole for the Liberty unit.
Mhm.
Like, okay, now
Mhm.
we can kind of get where we want.
Yep.
And then another thing I thought New York made a really great adjustment. Phoenix was kind of setting that low ball screen with the point guard for AT. And
Mhm.
I thought the Liberty putting Stewart on AT was a little bit more beneficial because she's more mobile than Jonquel Jones. But
Mhm.
if you're Phoenix, are you happy with the shots you got and think you just didn't make them, or kind of what do you think needs tweaked going into the game at New York?
Oh, I think you're totally happy with the shots. I mean, some of those shots Satu got were completely uncontested because Sandy Brondello leaned into the numbers, right? Satu hadn't been shooting the 3 well all season. That was the shot they were willing to give up as a defense, and Satu didn't deliver. If I'm Nate Tibbetts, I'm not that unhappy with all of the shots. I'm just happy with, or unhappy rather, with the inability to connect. Right? AT missed a couple of bunnies at the rim. I mean, just some
Mhm.
real gut wrenching misses that she usually makes. And I think moving forward, if Phoenix really wants to extend this series, they go to Dewana Bonner faster and longer because she was a difference maker. When they leaned on her in the 3rd quarter, all of a sudden it's that 7-0 run because the personal chemistry between her and AT with that high-low action is just a thing of beauty. You mentioned being a basketball purist. That's why I watched the game too. And when those two on the floor together, and they're
Mhm.
in rhythm and they don't even have to talk or look. It's just a glance and a move. And for my money, when AT is on the floor with Bonner, Bonner moves better without the basketball. When it's
Yes.
not those 2 together, I just don't I see Bonner getting a little more stagnant and waiting to see, "Oh, am I in the right place?" Where I think she just uses her high basketball IQ and just kind of freelances a little bit more to the Mercury's benefit, when it is her and AT. Not that AT comes off the floor that much, but,
Right.
it was noticeable yesterday.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. I have a really good friend, a huge Mercury fan, and he's texting me like, "Where's DB?" So I thought she was a difference maker for them, and just someone who has so much playoff experience
Mhm.
against a team that obviously are the defending champs, have been there, done that. So my last take on this game, and you kind of mentioned it, but if Stewart is out for the
Mhm.
Liberty, what do you think, obviously Jones being more involved, what else
Yep.
do you see as kind of the priority for the Liberty?
The priority is to get Jones involved early so she's engaged for 40 minutes. That's critical. And then you got to rely on the horses that got you there. Phoebish and Misaman, Sabrina. Um, there are so many talented players on that roster. Cloud, being the straw that stirs the drink. And Marine Johannes, like, let
Mhm.
them rise and fire. You have weapon upon weapon upon weapon. And don't be afraid to go to Sabali for instant offense as well. Because if Jonquel has a slow start like she did in Phoenix, she just didn't seem to be playing with the I'm a former MVP in this league, dang it. She just
Yeah.
didn't have that vibe. In fact, New York didn't have that vibe. They
No.
did not take the floor as the defending WNBA champion. I expect to see more swagger and urgency from New York at Barclays. And if I don't, then I will be very concerned about the outcome of the game on Wednesday night because Phoenix is totally capable of going in and getting one and forcing a game three.
Yeah, I that series was circled for so many people, just because of the talent, and you see them as a 4 or 5, and it's
Mhm.
kinda crazy, and I think some of that for New York could be too that they haven't played a ton of basketball together this
That's it.
season. So,
Mhm.
there is some uncertainty there, but I will say the experience, you could tell when it got to overtime, there was no panic. It was
Yeah.
sticking to what they know and what they do, and I think all of us that are, fans of this league are really hoping that there is not a long-term injury to Stewart for the
Yeah.
playoffs, because this season has been rocked with injuries, and when you
Too
make
many
it to the
games, Brittany.
playoffs.
Too many games. Too many
Yep,
games.
and when you make it to the playoffs, the last thing you want is, for series or teams to be impacted, by that, but I know that that game will be a battle, and I expect nothing but another kind of
Yeah.
backyard fight for that, so,
Brittany, before
um
we leave this series, if it is a game 3, I implore everybody in the Valley to find their way to PHX Arena. I was shocked when I saw the attendance numbers for Sunday's game. Just 10,000. Oh, that's a nice number. It's a nice
mhm.
round number. Just a few nights before Fan Appreciation Night, 13,000. That needs to be the number. At minimum, the X Factor always understands the assignment. And I was so stunned that the number was that low for such an important playoff game.
Yeah, and certainly with that matchup, I think that is,
Mhm.
one that most people were really, really looking forward to. So if it does make it to a game 3, I hope that place is packed because
Yes.
certainly these teams and women deserve that. And then our final game of the night, we had the Storm and the Aces. And to really no one's surprise, I don't think the Aces 17 straight, Asia at
Woo.
the forefront, but this is a team outside of Asia Wilson that is just clicking on all
Mm.
cylinders. So again, thoughts on this game? The Aces, they look like a team that has been here and done that. And do you think the Storm have an answer in game 2?
Wow. I'll start with your last question first. I don't know that anybody has an answer for the Aces in their current iteration. I mean, they are just curb stomping people. I mean, taking your will to live away from you on the basketball floor like nothing we have seen in a while. I mean, this takes me back to how the Houston Comets just used to run through folks. Like it's that kind of buzz saw mentality. Shout out to Nalissa Smith. What an addition to that team. We are seeing the Nalissa Smith we've seen in Athletes Unlimited and that we got to know and love at Baylor, right?
Yep.
She is proving why she's in this league, why she was such a high draft pick. And it is just a beautiful thing to see. And then the rich get richer, right? Because Cheyenne Parker Tyus decides, hey, it's just been 2 months since I brought another child into the world, but let me go ahead and start hooping again. So that position around Asia Wilson gets even more fortified, and Aces fans don't have to worry about, oh, what is Kia Stokes going to do? Kia Stokes can just sit and be a great teammate on the bench because other people are holding it down. And so that is what is happening. For the Aces. And then Jewel Lloyd coming off the bench, providing a spark both on offense. Her defense was next level elite, reminding everybody why she's a multiple time gold medalist. Yeah, I really and then, just vintage Jackie Young and vintage Chelsea Gray. Chelsea Gray pivoting down, "Hey, let me just defend this 4 and take the ball right out of Nneka's hands." Like, what? And for Seattle, it's the Jekyll and Hyde thing, right? We have seen
Yep.
this all season long. Which version of Seattle is going to show up? The one that can go toe to toe with Minnesota, or the one that just lays down and you're worried that they may not make the playoffs at all?
Yeah, I mean, for Skylar Diggins to not even score in the first half, I
Oof.
think was a concern. But you're right; they've just been Jekyll and Hyde, and honestly, their best player throughout much of the night, or most aggressive, was Don Malonga, who
Yep.
is a rookie, a 19-year-old rookie, and she had a couple. We were joking before, welcome to the W playoff moment
Mhm.
last night, but credit to her because she didn't back down.
No.
She, like we said, was developing and learning right before our eyes and going against the top player in the world.
Mhm.
So credit to that, but I just the storm are you I mean, they had 3 or 4 shots that didn't even hit the rim. They were
Yeah.
just all out of sorts, and to not have really Brittany Sykes or Skylar Diggins be non-factors for a majority of that game, it's hard
Mhm.
to see where they find success in game 2. And then on the aces, we didn't even mention Dana Evans off
Oh,
off the
yeah.
bench,
Yep.
and just the way they are playing. And I think it's silly for all of us. I don't know if you were one, but certainly I was one with the aces. Like, man, I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
And
After
here,
the month of May? After the month of
yeah,
May and into early June? Oh, you bet. It was like, okay, because Indiana wasn't that injured at that juncture.
yep,
And Los Angeles had started to kind of figure it out after their terrible start. Remember, they were like 5 and
yep,
13 or something out of the
yep,
gate. And it was like, oh, okay. So those 2 teams they're gonna come up and take Las Vegas's spot.
yeah.
I don't see anything before the Nalissa Smith trade that made me think the Aces were legitimately gonna go into the postseason, make
Hmm.
it, and be a contender. And then all of that flipped with the acquisition of Nalissa Smith and the return of Cheyenne Parker Tyus late, the emergence of Jewel Lloyd going, you know what? I'm going to come off the bench. And then Asia Wilson doing Asia Wilson all world things, right? We've had one player in WNBA history win the MVP and Defensive Player of the Year award twice. That was Cheryl Swoops in the year 2000 and 2002. It would not surprise me at all if Asia Wilson joined her in that party, because what she has done on both ends of the floor has catapulted her team, and she's been the fulcrum for this streak, right?
Yep.
Everything goes through her, and it has just been fantastic. And every player that I work with in college, I ask college players, "Who's your favorite player?"
Hmm.
And a lot of them, Asia Wilson. I'm like, "No, she's not." And they look at me like, Don't tell me who my favorite player is." I'm like, "I know she's not your favorite player because you don't run the floor like she does. You don't
Yep.
rim run like she does. When you rim run like Asia Wilson, then you can say Asia is my favorite player, because imitation is the strongest form of flattery, as we all know. And I'm just trying to impart with these young women on campuses, listen, you want to be Asia, you got to work. You just don't show up and look good and look cute and win the fit walk and all of that. You work your tail off, and nobody outworks Asia Wilson.
No, and it's so evident. And there was a play last night. She blocks on one end, she goes down, gets almost an and one on the other. But that is just a testament to the type of player she is. And I said this before: the 3 kind of leading candidates for the MVP this year, Asia Wilson, Nafisa
Mhm,
Collier, and Alyssa Thomas.
mhm.
They do it on both ends of the court, and
Yes.
that to me is what people should be appreciating and watching, because that is where greatness lies, in
Mhm.
being able to commit on both ends, because that's hard work. I mean, you have to put in the time and the willingness, and defense isn't it's not flashy, it's not necessarily fun,
Mm.
but man, is it
Although,
rewarding.
when
Yeah.
Asia blocked Malanga, that was flashy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There are instances where you get the block or, but for the most part, it is just not the glitz and glamour that you
Yeah.
see. And for her is just, I mean, averaging 20 and 6, 26 and 12 over the 17 game win streak. And somehow
Mhm.
everyone around her is elevated too. And we are seeing a team that I think after watching yesterday, they are on the collision course, if I had to guess, to meet Minnesota right now. In the finals. If you had
Wow,
to kind
okay.
of have that crystal ball, that's kind of what
Yep.
I would see just from yesterday. But you know, any other thoughts on yesterday's games, or kind of what you see? Anything else?
I was tickled pink that a WNBA game forced Sunday Night Baseball to go to ESPN2. I never in my life thought I would see that happen, and I was just sitting on my sofa giddy. Uh, Women's basketball is here and is taking up space and deserves that space. And I love that it's finally being acknowledged. And I love the stagger of the games. I never felt a pinch to get from one game to the other. I could watch, screen by screen when it was Minnesota's game wrapping up as the Mercury game was starting. So yeah, I really appreciated the ease of viewing. That was one of my biggest takeaways of the first day of postseason.
Yeah, I think you said it best there. Women's basketball is here. And, we are going to be in for a really great playoff run here from all these teams.
Mhm.
So I think if you haven't had a chance to tune in, obviously definitely do that, because what we're watching, especially this season, has been just really great basketball. And I know we're going to have even more of that coming up. So
Mhm.
with that, like, listen, subscribe to all of our podcasts throughout the week and through the playoffs. It is the best place, I think, Her Hoop Stats, to get any information that you need, whether you're listening to the
Mhm.
podcast or reading the newsletter. It is just the best source of women's basketball information. So,
And getting online and just breaking down the stats. You worried
yes,
about free agency next year? Look at the charts. See what your team can do. It is fantastic one-stop shopping.
yes, great content all across the board. So, with that, happy playoff watching, and we will see you next week.